Hello. All right, I had a great question come in on the Half Size Me community private Facebook page that I want to address, which is I just recently found out that I have an intolerance to something: dairy, nuts, wheat, gluten. It doesn't really matter, fill in the blank. And I was doing super good with weight loss because I had the idea that no foods were off limits and I was able to stick to my calorie deficit. But now, because my doctor has told me I have an intolerance to this thing and I need to start to remove it from my diet, I feel all kinds of bingy. I feel all kinds of restricted. All the things I had been saying to myself about I don't have to restrict any foods and all foods are permissible, now I'm feeling kind of frustrated because I'm seeing that as not being true for me. And so what do I do? Like, how do I handle this division in my mind of I have to, quote unquote, eliminate this food in order to feel my best, and I want to lose weight, but yet I still don't like feeling that sense of restriction, right? So if you really stop and think about it, we just tell ourselves stories. That's really what it is. The story that you said to yourself to get yourself to hit a calorie deficit was all foods are allowed. That was a story you told yourself. You could have said all foods are allowed except for dairy products, but you chose to say all foods were allowed and that you just had to hit a calorie deficit. We can change our story at any time. We don't have to be locked into it. And what I mean by that is your perception of the change and how you tell yourself the story very much can influence the outcome of how this whole thing goes down. So let's just pretend you can't have dairy foods, right? I can't have dairy foods. So what I would do if I was in your shoes is I would say my goal is to feel my absolute best while I lose weight. And I am going to find ways to make my favorite foods without dairy products, right? So I would be focusing on what can I eat versus what I can't. Where our brain tends to go is what we lose. It's just like when someone dies. We notice that we lost this person, but what we seldom see is all the gifts we got from getting to have that person in our life for the 5, 10, 20, 50, 70 years that they were there, which we were never guaranteed to begin with, right? Where does our mind go? I've lost this person versus I was gifted 70 years with this person and here's all the wonderful gifts I've gotten. It's just a change of perception. What I had or what the gifts, the benefits, or the reduction of having this person in my life and now feeling a sense of loss because they're no longer there. Same thing with food, okay? You currently are choosing not to have dairy. You absolutely can have it. You also get to have the consequences of how that makes you feel if you choose to eat it, right? So the question to say to yourself is, how do I want to feel? I need to hit a calorie deficit to lose weight. True. I do not have to eliminate dairy. I'm choosing to because I want to feel my absolute best in my body. And if I'm eliminating dairy, all that means is I have to find ways to eat the things I would normally have dairy with or dairy in a non-dairy kind of way. And there's tons of this, by the way, guys. I am not a vegan. I eat vegan desserts all the time. I love them. Black bean brownies, chickpea blondies. I eat things, I could totally have dairy and wheat and all these different things, but I like them better, actually. And my kids like them better because we've never really been big in buying boxed brownie mix. We've always made the black bean brownies and my kids actually prefer them. And they have no intolerances. The reason I share this with you is because it's all perception. It's all the story you tell yourself. So if you treat this like a wonderful exploration into how to make foods you love without the one particular thing you need to eliminate or the multiple things you have to eliminate, and you get to open up to new foods that you've maybe never tried before, like chickpea blondies, right? Like I had never had those until I made them, and they were delicious and I love them and I keep making them. You can play around and find new recipes, and it's always, and here's the deal, why are you losing weight? Go back to this main thing. Why are you losing weight? Probably to feel better, probably to feel your best. Wouldn't you want to do that on all fronts? Like if you think about it, you're eliminating dairy not because it's taboo and you can't have it. You're eliminating it because you want to feel your best day to day. You don't want to have upset tummy or indigestion or swelling or whatever the issue is that comes about for you, right? Just like if I were to put a medication on the table and you said, oh, I have an intolerance to that, like for me it's morphine. I have an intolerance to that. I don't want to take it. I'm going to feel like crud if I take it. So I only want to put things in my body that are going to help me feel good. So where we need to rechange the story, I can totally have whatever I want. The story doesn't change. I can totally have whatever I want as long as I hit a calorie deficit. But today, I'm choosing not to take in dairy products because I want to feel my best. And I am going to be working on learning how to take my favorite foods that normally would have dairy and make them with an alternative. I'm going to make that my quest so that way I can still enjoy those foods I love without having upset tummy or whatever the situation is from the food that you're removing. So really nothing changes. Because again, you could be scarfing down dairy all day long if you really want to, but again, you get to live with the repercussions of that. Nobody else does. So I would actually encourage you to refocus the story and say, I do still need to be in a calorie deficit if I want to lose weight. But if I want to feel my ultimate best doing this, today I'm choosing to omit dairy. Everything is today. Today I'm choosing to omit dairy. And I am going to look for recipes to make my favorite foods that include my problematic item in a way that will serve me. And keep in mind, people are born with things they can't eat from day one. I have a girl that I know who my kids are friends with who can't have peanuts. She's had a peanut allergy from day one. Her mom has gone out of her way to find tons of things to make to replace buying foods in factories that are made with peanuts and doing. She was born in that situation, so she has to deal with it, right? And could she choose to eat peanuts? Absolutely. Would she need an EpiPen and be rushed to the hospital? Absolutely, right? Like you have a choice. And I think where the binging and the problematic eating comes in is we believe somebody is forcing us to do this. They're taking away an option. But it never was taken away. It still exists. Why did you go to the doctor to begin with? Probably because you weren't feeling good, right? You weren't seeing the results you wanted on the scale. You were noticing some kind of side effects. Well, if you know that this change could bring about a better outcome, wouldn't it make sense you would want that for yourself, right? And it's funny how we turn on ourselves in that way. It's like, the very reason you went to the doctor initially to find out what was going on is because something wasn't right. Now you have an idea, and so you should be excited. Oh my gosh, I get to be at a calorie deficit. I get to work on my weight loss. I now know that these foods might be problematic for me. There's tons of recipes online to replace the foods that I'm losing and learning a different way to make them. And I get to choose. I can choose to stay on the path I'm on and have been on. Or now with this newfound knowledge, I can choose to make a different choice and feel so much better in my body, make so much better progress than I was before. You now have that knowledge. And all you have to do is focus on all the delicious food you get to still consume. I very seldom meet somebody who has every food known to man on their elimination plan. It's usually one of a couple: eggs, dairy, wheat, gluten. There's a handful of products or foods that tend to be the most problematic for people. So whatever those foods are, you eliminate and you find alternate replacements. But the reality is there's a plethora of foods that are still available to you. And so I would take your time and actually make up a huge list of that. And then I would start looking up food bloggers who make foods that you enjoy without the problematic ingredient. So if you need dairy-free, look up dairy-free ingredients. If you need nut-free, look up nut-free ingredient recipes. All these things are there for you. Years ago, maybe not. Today, definitely. So I hope this helps. It's all the story you choose to tell yourself. And the reality is, you can decide how you want this to play out. It's you learning, growing, and adapting and changing to make your life and body feel better, or it's you staying stuck in a paradigm of what used to be that was causing you problems and continuing to repeat that and not make the progress you want to make. But it really just comes down to the way you want to pitch it to yourself. I hope this helps. And if you could, please like and subscribe to me on YouTube and share videos that might be helpful for others to hear. Also, let me know in the comments if I can help you with anything else. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.